Baseball is back, and at Team Toyota, savings and selection are back too. With tons of new Toyota SUVs, trucks, and hybrids to choose from, and with our lineup of over 200 certified used Toyotas, you can find the right fit for you and your budget. Plus, our service and collision centers are here to get you back in the game in no time. Visit one of our 3 locations in Princeton, Langhorne, or Glen Mills, or online at teamtoyota.net. Hey everybody, welcome to the Phillies Talk podcast presented by Team Toyota. I'm Corey Seidman, joined by Ben Davis and Spencer McKercher here. Regular season's beginning. We're only about, 48 hours away from opening day. Ben, Spence, the Phillies, high expectations this year, obviously coming off a year where they won the division but bowed out early in October. Ben, there wasn't a ton of change this offseason, but the Phillies did make some additions, Luzardo, Kepler, Romano. Just as we sit here a few days before the season begins, where do you have the Phillies in this whole National League landscape? Do you think they're going to be able to improve upon last year's finish?
Hopefully that's the case. I think these guys are realizing that their window is now. This team is built to win now, and they're going to try and take every opportunity to do so. This is a team that was built, offensively. This year, I think is more built on arms, but they have to be a little bit more consistent offensively. They have to stay healthy from a defensive standpoint and their pitching rotation. They need to get Ranger Suarez healthy, and he needs to be out there every 5th day. But overall, I put them at one of the top teams in all of baseball. The way this team has been constructed, I think they're built for the long run, and I think they can definitely do it.
And Spence, this Ranger Suarez injury has kind of like put a damper on some of the vibes around the starting rotation. A lot of people said this could be the best rotation in all of baseball, and maybe it can, but Suarez looks like he's going to be down for the majority of April here as he deals with back stiffness, and he's dealt with back injuries here in past seasons. But still, the Phillies, as Ben said, the strength is the rotation. Nola, Wheeler, Luzardo, Christopher Sanchez. We're going to see Wheeler right out of the gate against the Nationals. A lot to be excited about for Phillies fans. Yes, there is offensive inconsistency, but when you have a starting rotation like this, you're going to be able to win. You're going to be in the running to win every single game.
This team will go as far as this rotation will take them. That's my big takeaway from this offseason. Yeah, the Ranger news stinks. I think this is the 4th or 5th back injuries that he's had to deal with over the last 3 seasons. Hopefully, we've been saying all offseason that this is going to rely on staying healthy. And if the team can stay healthy, they should be in October in a good spot. But I guess we'll bank on Taijuan Walker here for the next few weeks. Obviously, not the spring that we really wanted to, but there has been improvements in at least the velocities there. But interested to see how he performs, especially, I guess we'll talk about it here shortly about what their plans are in terms of when he'll make his first start of the season. But I guess you just got to cross your fingers on Taijuan, and hopefully things can go the Phillies' way.
Well, Ben, did you see enough out of Taijuan Walker this spring? I mean, he did have, the velocity was closer, I guess, to 2023. The results really weren't there. He got hit around by the Yankees, and he didn't strike many batters out. So there's always the idea that he doesn't miss a ton of bats. But I don't know. I kind of come at it from the standpoint of if he gives you 4 innings, 2 runs, that's enough,
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, but then you're going to be burning your bullpen out, and you don't want to be doing that every 5th day. But yes, the velocity is up. It's just a matter of him, staying down in the zone with that velocity. He starts to elevate. It's still pretty flat, his fastball is, and he's a fly ball pitcher. But, if he can get some early outs, obviously the velocity is going to help with the difference in his split finger fastball. That's really his out pitch. But if he can stay at 93, 94 and then throw the splitter 86, 87, I think that's a big enough variance where he can get guys out in front of that splitter if it has good action to it. But you want to make sure you get as most you can out of him. He's a guy, he's very accountable. He works his tail off. It's just a matter of him really keeping the ball in the ballpark. The last 2 outings in spring training were not good. He got hit around quite a bit, and he's going to have to be better than that. That's the bottom line.
And the Jesus Luzardo move looks even better in retrospect with Suarez out, because now you're thinking when you get him, you're thinking, okay, now you have a 1 through 5, but now it's also protection. If Suarez misses significant time, at least you have another lefty in the rotation who can get outs, get you through games. Spence, the starting pitching staff, the bullpen, there are a lot of guys who are returning. Offense, same deal. Max Kepler, the only new name. We've talked a lot throughout the offseason about the lineup construction. Is Schwarber going to be leading off? Is Trey Turner going to be leading off? still, either whether it's Turner or Schwarber, I mean, it's still going to be an offense that scores a lot of runs, wins a lot of games. But I guess as we sit here a couple of days before the season begins, what did you see in spring training and what do you think? And what would be your preference?
Yeah, and we talked about it too. They got hot here towards the end of spring. Finally, it was a slow start for some of these guys in spring, but now they kind of got the bats warmed up right at the right time. And hopefully it transitions into this week and beyond. However, I don't know. It's tough, man. I know Rob has a tough assignment here on his hands that we've been talking about for the last 3 or 4 seasons of where Trey Turner is going to hit, where Kyle Schwarber is going to hit. I preferably have Schwarber leading off, then Turner. But again, I don't know. It's tough because if you want to see Trey on the base pass, starting the game off hot, he'll see more pitches, obviously in the leadoff spot. But the lineup has still worked with Schwarber leading off. Whether they've gotten cold or not, there's been production, and Rob Thompson has seen that. Dave Dombrowski has seen that. So I would go, and I think it's opening day will probably be Turner, Schwarber, or Turner, Harper, Bohm, Schwarber. Could flip-flop either Bohm or Schwarber there, but I would still stick with the lineup that they have for the last few seasons, and I know that will make a lot of people upset.
Well, to me, the bigger thing than is it Turner or Schwarber up top is are Brandon Marsh and Bryson Stott closer to 2023 than 2024? That's what's going to be the difference between the Phillies offense being significantly better or worse is, those two guys had down years last year. Stott hit 40 points lower than the year before. Marsh's OPS was well below where it was in 2023. And that internal improvement is going to go a long way. They need it from a lot of different guys. I mean, if you look back to last season, Harper did his job, Schwarber did his job, but every other guy in that lineup, it can be said that there's a lot more there. Trey Turner, it's been surprising to me over these 2 seasons with the Phillies that he's been almost like a sellout power hitter. I don't think that's by design. I don't think he's trying to go up there and do that. But when you think of his hottest streaks, they've been based around home runs. They've been based around pulling the ball to left field and hitting home runs. And when he got to the Phillies, what you thought of Trey Turner as is almost like that all-around, all-encompassing offensive player. He can hit for average, hit for power, hit doubles, hit homers, steal bases. That's what they want him to be in 2025. Make the sort of impact that Francisco Lindor made with the Mets last season. If Trey Turner had that year with the Phillies last year, the whole tone of the last 6 months might be a little different. They're paying him $300 million. They need improvement out of a lot of guys, and he's right at the top of the list.
Without a doubt. And I mean, he's signed here through 2033. So he's going to be here for a few more years. And I think that maybe the worst thing that could have happened to Trey Turner was that World Baseball Classic before he started his first year here with the Phillies. He had 5 homers in the WBC. And everyone thinking, we got a 60-60 guy here that's going to be able to, hit home runs and steal 60 bags. And, it just hasn't panned out. But I will say that I was just looking up some numbers the other day. And if I were to tell both of you that he hit 295 last year with 21 homers, I never thought that was the season that he had, but that was the season that he had. And over the last 5 years, he's in the top 5 in hits in all of baseball. So this is the guy that can do it. He's a former National League batting champion, but I look for him to really flip the switch this year. I look for him to have a breakout season, possibly an MVP type season.
And the competition level all around this year is going to be stiffer. I mean, it's going to be an exciting race all year round. Braves are getting healthier, Strider and Acuna. The Mets made the Soto addition. I think this is going to be a really tough race. Like the Phillies last year, they were 5+ games up in the division. I want to say for the entire, from the Memorial Day onward. They had a couple lulls there late in the second half, but they pretty much cruised in the NL East. Whereas this year, it wouldn't be surprising if they're looking up at the Braves or looking up at the Mets. How do you guys see this division shaking out? Spence, let's start with you.
I think they still win the division. I know the Braves are still the Braves, and it's a very similar team from a few years ago. They added Jurickson Profar as well, another just solid bat. They have to stay healthy, and we haven't seen them really stay healthy. Now, knock on wood, the Phillies have. However, everything kind of relies on health as we go back to keep saying that. But to be honest, man, I'm not really worried about the Mets at all. I know the Soto addition is huge. Obviously, Lindor is coming off an MVP type season last season, but it's their rotation that I'm not too worried about. They're starting with Clay Holmes to start the season. I know they'll get healthier as well. Kota Senga, we'll see how he performs as well. But yeah, man, I don't know. The Phillies the goal last year was to win the National League East. They did that. The goal should be, again, to win the National League East. And then obviously they have bigger aspirations as the season goes on. But it's going to be, it should be a fun race regardless.
Ben, the momentum the Mets had late last year into the playoffs, do you think that that's something that a team could carry over into the next season? I mean, do you think they're going to be as big of a threat as the Braves?
I do. I think obviously the addition of arguably the best hitter in baseball in Juan Soto is going to be huge for that team. But I think they kind of realized something about themselves last year, and they can go out and really play and get hot. That's a team that's also built to win right now, much like the Phillies and the Braves. And but I would agree with Spence. I think that the Braves pose a little bit more of a threat than the Mets do. Now, having said that, the Mets, they had the Phillies number last year, and the Phillies have to remedy that. But if you're looking at the addition of, literally looking at Acuna and Strider, getting those two guys back are just huge additions for the Braves. And, other than Shohei Ohtani, I was saying this to a buddy the other day, other than Shohei Ohtani, you take him out of the equation. If I had to start a ball club, I would start it with Ronald Acuna Jr. I think he's that dynamic. He can beat you in so many different ways. No one even talks about how good an outfielder he is, how great an arm he is. He's a speed guy, obviously, and hits the ball out of the ballpark. But this is going to be a huge addition for the Braves. But matter of him staying on the field, he has been able to do that in recent years. Yeah,
and I'm curious to see if the running game is as much of a part of his game. Coming back from wasn't that his second ACL?
Second injury? ACL, dude.
So it's like he was a guy who a few years ago stole 60 plus bases, right? So it's
70 plus.
70, right? It's the first ever 70-40. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So when we're looking toward opening day here, the Phillies roster, there were some questions leading into the final week. We talk about the 26-man probably more than the 26-man actually impacts the season that first week anyway. And a lot of times it's a totally different roster by mid-April even. But it went to Kody Clemens. Spence, when we last talked on this podcast, we thought maybe it would be a right-handed bat just because the Phillies are more likely to pinch hit for, a lefty with a righty than they are to pinch hit for a righty with a lefty. Like they're not pinch hitting for Turner, Castellanos, Realmuto, or Bohm very much at all. But it went to Kody Clemens, who has had a lot of big moments for the Phillies over the last couple of years.
Multiple big moments. And I think that I think we mentioned on the last podcast too, when he was talking this December, January, whenever they had some of the events here at CBP before spring training, he, was asked about being a part of this team and proving himself, knowing that he's out of options and knowing that there's a chance that he could have wound up somewhere else. And he said he felt like he proved himself. And I think he proved himself again this spring. I think the versatility with Kody in the infield, obviously he's played a lot of first base, but we've seen him at third as well. We've seen him in the outfield as well. Yes, it's a left-handed bat. Now you add that with Amuda Sosa, Rafael Marchand. Whom else am I missing on the bench there? But regardless, I think it was the right move. Obviously, it stinks that Buddy Kennedy didn't get another chance. We'll always be grateful for the Buddy Kennedy game late last year. However, I think it was the right move that the Phillies stuck with Kody Clemens. Again, we talked about it. He's a huge clubhouse guy as well. He's made an impact in this clubhouse just in terms of personality and friendships and all that. So I think it was the right move.
Ben, the Phillies outfield picture, they've talked about they're going to play Max Kepler every day. They're going to try to do it. And they've talked about wanting to get Brandon Marsh more and more opportunities against lefties. But when I sit and think about it, if you're facing a lefty, are you really going to start 6 left-handed hitters? I find it a little hard to believe that both Kepler and Marsh would be in the same lineup against a lefty. Maybe it's if a guy who has reverse splits like Mackenzie Gore, who the Phillies are going to see on opening day. But if it's anybody tougher than that, I find it a little hard to believe. But how do you see this outfield arrangement shaking out? And do the Phillies have enough offensively in the outfield? Because that was probably one of their, 2 or 3 biggest weak points last year was the overall production in the outfield.
Yeah, they really didn't get a whole lot out of the center field and left field last year from an offensive standpoint. And the addition of Kepler, if he's anywhere near what he was in spring training, this guy came out. He's a big dude. I had no idea he was that big, but he was using the whole field, driving the ball, not just hitting it the opposite way. He was driving the baseball the opposite way. And I think he wasn't himself last year in Minnesota. He was a little banged up. I think he come in, he's healthy this year. Working with Kevin Long is going to help him out tremendously. But they're going to get some offensive production. And with Brandon Marsh and the lefties, I just don't think he's been given a big enough opportunity to hit lefties. I know the numbers don't say that he's going to be productive against lefties, but I think it's in there, especially when he's using the left side of the diamond. It's something he's going to make a concerted effort to do. But I think you only know if someone, it's like, how can a guy get through a lineup for the third time and it's a starting rotation if you never let him do that? So let Marshy get his at-bats against lefties and see how he does.
And really, like Spence, the Phillies, they've talked about how they have the long game in mind. Like they're not going to send their starters out probably for as many innings as they did last year. I think they're going to be more careful. I don't know if you're going to see as many like guys start the ninth inning, for example, as they did in 2024, 2023, because that it doesn't matter. Like, individual accomplishments are so much less important now than the ultimate goal of winning the World Series. These guys have already hit 200 innings a couple times, so it doesn't really matter as much. I would think it still matters every year to a pitcher to get to that benchmark. But to my, along the lines of that, what Ben was just saying about lefties needing to get an opportunity to face lefties, if you have the long game in mind, if you know that come October you might need Brandon Marsh against a lefty, it probably does. Even if he's failing, even if he's hitting 130 at the end of April against left-handed pitching, they should still give him some of those opportunities. It probably shouldn't be like a Edmundo Sosa every single time type deal, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think Rob Thompson's quote about Brandon Marsh this spring was enticing, just because he said he's a superstar ready to burst open. So we've been waiting for Brandon to kind of explode onto the scene. Obviously, he's had some great seasons here, but again, like I said earlier in the pod, the starting rotation will take this guys as far as they go. But I think Brandon Marsh, Alec Bowman, Bryson Stott, if we still want to call them the daycare, whatever I don't know if they graduated to kindergarten or not yet, but I think the team will go as far as they can take him as well. And in terms of the offensive side, they both, Bowman and Stott kind of dealt with the injuries last year, Stott with the elbow, Bowman with the hand towards the end of the season. If those guys can produce, then I think they're in good shape, because you know what Bryce Harper's going to do. You know what JT Realmuto is going to do. Hopefully we know what Nick Castellanos will do. If you stick with those young guys, Brandon Marsh included, I think they'll be okay, but we'll see.
And in the bullpen, we haven't really talked much about the bullpen, but Matt Strahm does look like he's going to be ready for opening day. I don't know how aggressive the Phillies are going to be with him early on. They're probably going to take it carefully with him. He was dealing with a left shoulder impingement during camp. The velocity was down, started to creep back up toward the end of camp, dealing with this finger issue right now. But Phillies in their bullpen, Strahm, Alvarado, Kirkring, Romano, 4 guys that they would feel comfortable in that closing mix. I would think that a closer might emerge early. Like last year, for example, even though the Phillies didn't name a closer, Alvarado was getting a lot of the save opportunities in April and May until he started to take his downturn right around the London time. Ben, do you think that Jordan Romano has the closing experience, the most of the bunch? Do you think that it might quickly be him?
I think so. I think he's definitely has the stuff to do it. He can offset the lefties with a good slider. He can backdoor it. He can back foot it, and he's got enough giddy up that he can throw it by guys. But I like him. But if you're looking at Alvarado, led the team in saves last year with 13, and the way he's looked at coming out of spring training, this guy looks unhittable, like literally unhittable. If he continues to throw like that, he might get the opportunity. But I think early on, I think it'll be Romano, and I think it would. I think he should be given every opportunity. But again, he's got to stay healthy. That's been his bugaboo the last couple of years, is staying healthy. He's got wipeout stuff. That's the bottom line. I've loved what I've seen out of him when the Phillies have played the Blue Jays in recent years. So I think he can definitely be given an opportunity and take advantage of it.
And Orion Kirkring I see like a closer in waiting when I look at him. He's already gotten these high leverage moments as like a kid in his young 20s and hasn't been fazed by them. And he's been great much more often than he's been not great. I still think that at some point here over the next few years, he might emerge into a closer, but it's a pretty good problem for not even problems, pretty good situation for Rob Thompson to have, where he trusts 4 different guys, 2 of them from each side. Last year, the Phillies, for most points, the second half had 5 guys because they also had Estevez in that mix, losing Estevez and Hoffman. But, 5 is more of a luxury. Middle relief, you have Tanner Banks, Jose Ruiz. And then I kind of like this last addition they made of Carlos Hernandez, final guy in the bullpen. Gives you a little bit of upside, throws hard, averaged just over 98 last year with his four-seam fastball. Was a starter earlier in his career with the Royals back in 2021. So kind of guy who could give you a couple innings if need be. So that kind of wraps up the Phillies bullpen. But yeah, Jose Alvarado in spring training, that was a performance of the age. I will say though that like if in a couple months he's struggling, I could totally see people being like, "Oh yeah, he should have been saving that 100 miles per hour for when it mattered."
Yeah, exactly.
But it goes both ways. You want to see a guy feeling his best in spring training, but you also hope that he's feeling his best 6 months down the road as well.
Yeah, and I would argue that he had the best spring out of anybody. Bryson Stott had a hell of a spring.
History of baseball.
It could be. Dude, what did he? How many hits did he allow? I think it was ridiculous. But it's good to see Jose. Dude, real quick on Carlos. I know, dude. If that's what you want a guy coming out of the bullpen, what is he, like 6'4", 255 or
he's
something like
boy.
that, dude? Yeah, throw in 100.
Yeah,
count me in for that. I know he's got some late game situations too with the Royals last season. I'm excited for Carlos, and I'm happy that he's in this bullpen. But yeah, man, let's get into some accolades real quick, maybe a little over-unders. For our guys watching,
time of year.
You guys look dapper, by the way.
Oh,
you guys look fantastic.
We try.
Twinning to a point.
No matter
but
where I go, I like to suit up.
Exactly.
Just because we had a little segment.
I've seen you suit up, dude. It's good. Yeah, so real quick, I guess we'll go some over-unders, little rapid fire, and then I want some accolades from you guys as we get ready to get on this journey of 162 games. So Wheeler, 200 innings. Obviously, he hit it last season. He hit it the year before. What do we think? Over under 200 innings for Zach Wheeler?
I'll say under. I'll say like 188, that the Phillies are just a little more cautious at the end, give him an extra day here and there, and that they pull him back enough that he's not right at 200.
I'm going to say over. I think this is a guy that he likes to pitch every fifth day. He does not do well with extra rest. He's going to stay in there. And bottom line is he's their number one guy. And I think Rob Thompson is going to let him go. But I do hope that he uses his head. I mean, there's a lot of times that Zach Wheeler, I was thinking about that on the way into work today. I don't know where he stands as top signings in Phillies history, but he's got to be close to the top. Yeah, this guy has been unbelievable. But I'm going to say over 200.
I will say, too, though, that Wheeler, it's almost the way that Charlie Manuel used to treat Roy Halladay, where it's like you go out to the mound, and if he says he wants to keep going, I think at this point, let him keep going.
Yeah. This is that clip that I saw that, he's kind of, JT goes out there whenever they do a mound visit, and if Zach doesn't say a word, he just kind of is like, all right, I'll just talk, and I'll turn around and walk back. And
Zach likes to keep things simple, man.
Yes, exactly. Speaking of innings, speaking of workhorses, Aaron Nola will set his at 210. Obviously, he's been the most consistent pitcher for the Phillies over the last, now we're coming up on 10 seasons now. What do you think for Aaron Nola, 210?
Yeah, I'll go under again. I think he's going to be in that like 190 to 200 range. But my thought on Aaron Nola is that I think the baseball world is finally starting to realize that this is the most consistent workhorse in baseball over the last decade. I mean, he's done it every single year, really never been hurt since that 1 year. He had that one elbow injury late that season, didn't end up needing Tommy John. He's been, extremely healthy ever since. You don't know year to year what you're going to get ERA wise from Aaron Nola. Could be in the mid threes, could be in the low fours, but you're going to get 190 plus in innings.
Yeah, I'm going to say under 200 innings as well. I just think, he's logged a lot of innings over the last so many years, but I think I'm going to go under for him. I know he wants to be out there as long as possible as well, but I'm going to go under.
Sweet. All right, we'll go to the bats here. Bryce Harper, my pick for MVP. I know, Ben, you said that Trey would be in that running too, but I think Bryce Harper will have an MVP type season. We'll set his over under at 30 home runs. Corey, go ahead.
Are we just doing homers with Harper, or are we doing other stats as well?
We can just do homers.
So I'm going to say,
give me your final stat line too. I guess. So
I'll say Harper this year hits, let's say 294 with like a 383 on base, and he gives you how many did he hit last year?
He hit 30 last year.
Yeah, I was going to say I think he hit 30.
Yeah, I think this year you're probably going to get closer to like 35, 37. Yeah. I'll say 37 and like 104 for Harper. A lot of runs scored, really high OBP. So.
Yeah,
every year.
Way to go out on a limb too. Bryce Harper for MVP. Really,
there's that guy in the Dodgers too that we have to worry about. But
I'm gonna say he hits 32 homers. I'm gonna say he hits 290 and has an OPS of, I'm gonna say 950.
You know what I just love about Bryce Harper though is just that like he's just naturally such a great hitter. Like the first day of camp, the first Grapefruit League game he plays in, like he's ready to go. Like I think one of his first or second at bat, he hits like laces a line drive. Like it doesn't matter what time of year it is. There's certain guys who just are I don't know, the natural ability just always comes out in him.
Yeah.
All right, Ben, we'll switch to your MVP pick. Potential. Potential.
I'm going to say Trey Turner.
Yep.
I think he's poised for a great season. I think he's battled himself the last couple of years. I think he's not been happy with the way he's performed. And I think he's a little bit frustrated at the way the numbers, that at the end of the year, how they ended up. So I think he's poised for a tremendous season, and I would not be surprised if he gets the MVP.
Corey, who's your most valuable? We'll switch up. Who's your most valuable player on this team?
On the team?
Yeah.
This year?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to say Harper. I mean, he's the face of the franchise, the best player. If he has an MVP caliber season, it raises their ceiling. If he doesn't, it kind of decreases their ceiling. But, another guy who I just think is going to be so important, though, I wouldn't say he's a team MVP, but like maybe like the guy who would be the MVP of the second tier would be Christopher Sanchez, because if he delivers 180 innings of a 3.30 ERA like he did last year, that's humongous, because that would be an ace on most staffs. That like a guy with those numbers, that innings total, that WHIP, that ERA, that would be like a number 1 or number 2 on most staffs, not a number 3 or 4. So when you have a 3-game series where it's Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez, or Wheeler, Sanchez, Luzardo, or whatever it is, you're going to have the advantage like every single night, every single series for the most part.
And that could be a dark horse for Cy Young. A lot of people picking that. It's kind of that under the radar name nationally that people haven't been really noticing is Christopher Sanchez for a National League Cy Young. I mean, if they get that production out of him this season, again, good things. All right, we'll wrap up real quick. Where does the season end for the Phils?
Ben, you want to go first?
I think they got to get back to a World Series. They got to win this World Series.
Yeah.
They, and give John Middleton his bleeping trophy back.
Yep.
This is a team that's built to win now. And I think that what I saw out of spring training, I think you're going to see some adjustments. I'm going to see some guys stay more in the middle of the diamond, better with 2 strikes, not always relying on the home run. The offense needs to be more consistent. I think we kind of know what we're going to get out of the pitching staff as long as they can stay healthy. But I think it's World Series or bust for the Phils this year.
Yeah, totally agree. If the core pieces are able to avoid injury, the Phillies need to win like 93 games. They need to make it at the World Series. They need to win the World Series to satiate any part of this fan base, because even if they get back and they lose in 7 games and are ultra competitive, it's still going to be disappointing, and you're still not going to bring back the same team. So all those guys know that it's now or never. The Dodgers are great. Obviously, the Dodgers are great. They have superstars like Ohtani, Freeman, and Betts, and then they went out and added rotation depth and bullpen depth. So like their weaknesses are no longer weaknesses, but it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if the Dodgers go 115-47. If the Phillies are better than them for a week, that's all that's going to matter, right? So whenever people ask about like where's the season going to end, what's your prediction? Like, I just feel like we're all just guessing, obviously, but
right.
Like it just depends on how the team is playing in that moment. If you would have asked baseball fans last year in April, May, June, July, even August, how far the Mets were going to go, nobody would have predicted that. But then they got hot and they just continue to ride that out. And the Phillies are hoping that the offseason cooled it off.
Yeah, it goes back to, I think this roster is too close-knitted, too talented to not win a World Series. And I know all offseason, the window has been slowly but surely closing. This doesn't have to be the season, but it's there. And I still think, again, the best roster, in my opinion, in baseball, still solidified. It's the same roster that's been around now for 3 or 4 years. I would take them in a 5-game series against the Dodgers. I would take them in a 7-game series against the Dodgers. And I don't think that the American League is as good as what it's being broadcasted as. So give me the World Series.
Well, we're all going to see. We're all going to see here in a couple of days when it gets started. But there's a lot of excitement. The Phillies know what the task ahead is, and this is a lot of guys who are in right smack dab in the middle of their prime. And if they don't do it now, it might never happen. I remember I was talking a couple of years ago how if they in 2023, like if they were to win it all, that could have gone down as like one of the most well-liked teams in Philadelphia history because of as you mentioned, the close-knitness and the partying and the clubhouse and just the genuineness, right? The genuine friendship among all those guys. It would be disappointing if they don't finish the job. It would just add another like legacy, piece of their legacy. It would turn these guys into legends in Philadelphia. You would see them coming back, for all these alumni events. So they just need to finish the job. It feels like it's 3 or 4 years in the making here, and I know that all the fans out there feel the same way. So
let's go on the journey, baby. Let's go on the journey.
We are so back.
We're back, baby. Come on.
Thursday,
Phillies baseball,
Phillies and Nationals. So thanks a lot for checking out the Phillies Talk podcast. For Ben and Spencer, I'm Corey. See you soon.